Chris, how are you today?
You.
I'm very well, thank you. I got to say, I'm such a big fan of your movie. I'm going to be taking my boys to the premiere on, which will be this Sunday, and I can't wait for them to see it because I think they are just going to absolutely fall in love with Roz and the world you built. So thank you very much for your movie to start off with.
My gosh, I've never been this excited for people to see a movie I've been involved in. Honestly, yeah, I'm likewise excited for you all to see it together.
When it comes to making this movie, so we have these series of books from Peter Brown. I read that you said that when you saw the potential of this film, what you want to do was strip it down to the framework. What does that mean in regards to this film? When you strip it down to the framework, are you talking about story? Are you talking about visual? What is that framework in your eyes when it comes to the Wild Robot?
That's something that every movie you work on, you learn things. And in the adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon, that's something that I learned is to look at something structurally first and foremost. Don't get ahead of yourself. It's okay to look at a film structurally so that, like, if you get that all in order, you're going to save yourself a lot of time down the road. And there will always be changes, but start with the structure and then put the more character. It's the bit that I like the best, which is the character bits. And this was an adaptation from the book, as you were saying. And I wanted to be very careful about trimming things back so that we had room for different other things to really expand to full scale. So that I would say was the art of an adaptation. I did my very best when I wrote the script to get us, accurately down the road. But then everybody contributes to this in editorial, in our story process. Heidi Jo Gilbert, our head of story, did so much heavy lifting as far as like helping to shape the story as well. And every voice on this film, in my opinion, is equal. Every idea is as valid as any other idea, and it's my job to sort out which ones I think are the right ones. So I do my very best throughout this process to listen to every artist that I work with.
What is really interesting about the Wild Robot is this contrast between character and environment. Very much like the fish out of water kind of story, right? Roz is built for servitude, but she kind of like becomes something else. And there was something that I read you say in a previous interview where you said when it came to this character, um, kindness can be a survival skill. A lot of people think when it comes to survival, it's dog eat dog, survival to fitness. But here, what helps her is being kind,
Hmm.
adapting to her environment, moving on to there. Kindness can be a survival skill. I think it's such a lesson that people can take these days because kindness seems to be, limited these days. And I think it's something that people can take from Roz. Sometimes you can be afraid of your situation, but to be kind and to be open and to learn can maybe go even further way than being defiant and violent, I guess.
Yeah, it's a powerful idea, and it's something that Peter Brown revealed to me in our very first phone conversation when I started working on this movie, even before I began writing the script. My first call was to Peter Brown, and he told us that that was the idea that was going through his head as a guiding principle as he wrote the original story. But he never really memorialized that verbatim on the page. And of course, I immediately wrote that down, and as a screenwriter, I thought that's going to make it to the screen for sure. So yeah, full credit to Peter for that idea. And you also said something that was absolutely pertinent and true, which is Roz has this programming, and but she comes to realize that all the animals around her have their programming, and their programming is pretty much the opposite. It's completely selfish, and they have to be, because if they're not completely selfish and are self-serving, they will not live to see another day. And it's that clash of, I think, philosophies that and that conflict that lends this story a lot of its energy and, I think, emotional power.
The other part of Roz's ability to adapt to an environment is the physical nature of the character. I read that silent movie stars was something of an influence when it came to this. Your Buster Keatons, your Chaplins. Is there any movies in particular, any movements in particular you found with those actors that you thought applied really well to the design and the physicality of Roz as a character?
Boy, I wish that Jakob, our head of animation, could be here. He'd be the best person to answer that. They were all off doing that kind of research while I was doing my thing, writing the script and working on the story. So I'm not sure exactly the particular moments that may have been guiding principles for them. But certainly everything you just said is absolutely accurate. They did look at Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin because we wanted a lot of this character to come from movement. I was very insistent that Roz have no articulation on her face. I wanted all of her emotion to be transmitted through her voice, which was Lupita's performance, which is a huge component in this and really took the lead, but also from her body movement. And the only real articulation on her face is these very complex lenses that she has for eyes. And there's a lot going on there, and it was really, I was blown away how much emotion the animators got out of these very simple and contained moments where you're doing these close-ups. I mean, she has close-ups just like any other actor, and they're incredibly effective, even though very subtle things are going on.
When it comes to the casting of Lupita Nyong'o as Roz, how soon does the aspect of voice come into play when it comes to an animated animation medium? You're working on the script, you're looking at the designs and such, but when you're thinking about the voice of character, do you have actors in mind? Do you have a certain tone and tenor in mind? When does that kind of come into play here?
The voice is the first thing that happens. Of course, we record first, and animation follows the timing of the voice. As for how we choose our actors, our casting director, Christy Soper, gets full credit for this cast. I'm not good at this, and this is what she does for a living. And I thought she gave us brilliant suggestions. And we were really fortunate that all of our very first choices for each of these characters, they all said yes. Christy and I have a conversation based on the script as to what these characters are all about, and I do my best to describe what I'm looking for and and the utility of each of these characters. Then she goes away, and based on that conversation, she uses all of her divining skills to assemble suggestions. So yeah, so it starts with the script, and then it goes to Christy, and she makes suggestions, and she casts the film. She deserves a lot of
Well, I
credit.
think well, she did a fantastic job, and Chris, so did you. Like I said, I can't wait to take my family to see this movie because I always said to them is that your hard as rock dad wept like a little baby at the end of this one, and they said, oh, we need to see what this movie is about, and I tell you what, I think you've done. I'm such a big fan of your work. We watch The Croods all the time, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, all that stuff. And when I told my boys I'm going to be talking to the guy who does the voice of Stitch and directs these movies in The Wild Robot, which I've seen the trailer like a million times, they were just so excited, and they're going to be so excited when they see this. And I can't wait for everyone else to see this when it comes out too. So congratulations to you, sir, and thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for getting the word out. I really appreciate all the kind words. I will pass them on to our crew.
Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content. Also, if you would like to request a review and support my work, please join my Patreon via the link in the description below.